Welcome to the XYZ podcast. We're three good friends, each from different generations, chatting about the most important pop culture moments from the month and what that might say about the zeitgeist of today. Whether you're great at keeping up with the times or you live under a rock, this podcast has something for you.
During November, we continued to see the genocide of the Palestinian people by the Israeli government and backed by the United States. Please support Palestinian voices and urge your representatives to call for a ceasefire if they haven't. We also ask that you educate yourself on other genocides happening in the world so you can make informed decisions that can help stop them. These include the Democratic Republic of Congo, Tigray, Yemen, Haiti, and Sudan. Now, onto the episode.
Are you ready to make a show?
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
What?
Aye, aye, Captain.
I don't know.
Oh, it's SpongeBob. You don't know SpongeBob?
No.
Oh,
I think I look like, I don't know if it's a teacher or there's like a fish that's like real, like the lady
Mrs. Puff,
and she's got glasses. It's me. It's me.
the driving school teacher. Oh my god, she's actually like a convict or something.
So, hi, everybody.
Hello, friends. How are we doing? I got recommended a show today, and I need to read you the name of it. I'm so sorry. It's important to pop culture. How to
Yeah.
Be a Cowboy by Dale Brixby.
Nice. Okay.
okay.
How to Be a Cowboy. Teach me.
Is it a comedy?
I don't know.
Great. So should we tell people our names in case they don't know?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do that. Hi, my name is Gus.
I'm Val. I am your sibling, unfortunately. And we are good friends with the lovely Tish, sitting across from us in the great Down Under.
I am down under in the pits of hell. How was your November? You have Thanksgiving and shopping mania?
Thanksgiving, it's kind of weird because like I enjoy being able to have like the time with my family where they don't have to like think about work. We can all get together and stuff, but like Thanksgiving also does not have a great history. And so it's like we're kind of celebrating something horrible. How can like we reframe our relationship with Thanksgiving while also being able to celebrate the government mandated time that we have off?
Like, we're against genocide, so you don't want to celebrate a genocide either. Hello.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Macy's parade interrupted by protests?
It was interrupted by
Yeah.
protests for Palestine, and the image was pretty fascinating because they have the protesters, and then right behind him is like a giant floating, it's either a Ronald McDonald. This is the state of America right now. Like this
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Grimace was sitting in the car like, come on.
Well,
Yeah, but fuck McDonald's though.
yeah.
We don't support McDonald's in these times.
Starbucks. Boo.
Boo. That's something that I wanted to ask you both. The responses that you've seen to like the boycotts in your own communities.
I just posted one yesterday on Instagram. Squishmallows.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, we gotta boycott Squishmallows, so no more Squishmallows. But there's another brand. What is it?
Squishables.
Squishables.
I have many Squishables, and honestly, I like them better.
I think they've even said that they're pro-Palestine.
Oh!
That's the one that I saw. What have you seen, Gus?
I've just seen some people just acknowledge that the boycott is happening and then like 5 minutes later be like, hey, let's go to Starbucks to get my birthday drink. They know it's happening, but they're like, I think it's mostly out of convenience because they're just like, oh, I always go to Starbucks. I always get this drink. I don't want to find another one that I know is good.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to go here. Or it's the closest thing to me, or blah, blah, blah. To them, it's a valid reason. But honestly, with the grand scheme of things that are going on, you can drive 5 extra minutes to get a chai latte somewhere else.
Yeah, we don't have Starbucks. Don't have to make the choice.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say, like, I do not care. I am not going to stop drinking my delicious coffee that I get every day for some, and this is verbatim, third world country. Very American individualism on display and consumerism. Like, I do not care. I need my things at all costs. Even though there was a report recently that Starbucks is using child labor in Brazil,
Oh,
which is another good reason to boycott them. We do not need our Starbucks coffee that badly. We can go somewhere else and we can try to put our money where our morals are.
They'll do stuff like that wherever they can. McDonald's has a special deal in Australia where they can employ younger people and pay them less than the minimum like wage other than everybody. You can work at McDonald's when you're 13 and 9 months and you get some pittance of pay.
To talk about exploitation, a lot of people are trying to not buy the newest Apple electronics as often because of what is happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo with cobalt. There's other things that we can do other than getting a new phone every few years because we don't have to. They still work.
Yeah.
yeah. Honestly, one thing I'm trying to do in this time, even if I can't do it every time, whatever, instead of like going to a big corporation supporting literal genocide, go to like the random coffee donut shop on the corner that's owned by some people that live 5 minutes away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
go to those spots that you kind of wouldn't go to necessarily if Starbucks was an option. Now it's not. So just go to those cool places. If anything, you'll find some cooler things than you could find at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Use this as an opportunity to expand your taste buds, expand your purchasing power, and put your purchasing power into actually supporting small businesses and things like that that support what you support.
And now we're going to talk about some of the like media stuff that happened in November because there was a lot, but we are going to be having more conversations about like international affairs and exploitation in relation to these pop culture events because it is really important and it is having an impact on the zeitgeist. So
Mhm.
I don't want to just talk about those things because like it is happening and just like stick it into a pop culture podcast, but I think it is important and it is shaping the landscape. So we are going to talk about it.
Absolutely.
So this month, Super Mario RPG came out, which is a remake of the wacky game from 1996, and critics are calling it an incredible recreation with just enough updates to make it new and exciting. And the girlies just eat up Super Mario. You already know that they got something cooking.
And this one is very different from a lot of the standard Mario games. You have a lot of weird things that you don't see. Like there's literally a punk Yoshi named Boshi who wears sunglasses.
Oh my god.
That is my gender.
It's so much fun and I think like it's a worthy game to try to bring into the new console with the new graphics. People are really liking it and they're happy with it.
Is that one that you've played?
This one is definitely on my radar and I might pick it up after I finish Super Mario Wonder. Call of Duty is one of the most popular video game series of all time, but sentiment is at an all-time low for its most recent installment, Modern Warfare 3 with the Roman numerals. One reviewer called it an embarrassing way to mark the series' 20th anniversary. Now, I do know that Call of Duty fans love to complain about the game as much as they like to play it. But I did also hear that the development of this game was very rushed and they try to push it out as quickly as possible.
I saw a video that Val showed me of a lady talking to the creators of the game on a panel at, like, a con or something like that, and she was, like, asking them, "Why can they not have their characters be so sexualized when they're women? Like, have them be wearing clothes that can actually hold a shit ton of weapons," and they just made so much fun of her, because I think she said, like, "Why do all of your characters have to look like they came out of a Playboy magazine?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, well, that's what we want, that's the point."
Ew. So the next November game that we're going to look at is called Thirsty Suitors. It's a colorful game that masterfully centers non-white characters, South Asian culture. The dialogue effectively uses humor to delve into serious topics and has left reviewers pondering about their own relationships. What have you guys seen on this one?
I've seen that there's, like, a skateboarding aspect to it, and, like, you fight your exes, kinda like Scott Pilgrim vibes in that way, like, oh, you're fighting your ex in, like, a anime-esque way.
There's also points where she has to battle her auntie. I told my Pakistani friends about that game, and I said that, and they were like, "That's the first thing you should have told me. Now I want the game." So it's both fun with some of the gameplay elements, and it's really endearing.
Is there queer characters? Are there different body types? All that sort of stuff?
There's definitely queer characters.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
The nominations for this year's Gaming Awards came out at the beginning of November. Until December 7th, fans can vote for their choice game in several categories such as soundtrack, accessibility, stories, and graphics. The biggest category is for the Game of the Year, and it's hard to discount any of the 6 games from winning. Now, the 6 games are Super Mario Wonder, Marvel's Spider Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Baldur's Gate 3, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and Alan Wake 2.
All of these are huge games that have had a lot of acclaim, a lot of excitement around them, a lot of fans. But personally, I think that the winner is going to be Baldur's Gate 3. I have not seen a fandom so excited about a game in a minute. I'm going to honestly be surprised if the other ones win, but not because they don't merit it. It's just because Baldur's Gate 3 is so big.
What's your prediction, Gus?
I think Baldur's Gate is gonna win for sure. I mean, that fan base was wild.
We'll update you on the winners next month.
For the folks, I know this is gonna hurt because it hurt for me too. The creator of The Last of Us is a Zionist. If you don't have it and you were thinking of getting it, just don't. Don't give that guy any money. Borrow it from someone.
Okay, it's movie time. Now, there were a lot of movies that came out in November. Obviously, Thanksgiving weekend, a lot of stuff comes out. So, let's start by talking about Saltburn. It's a film that had incredibly mixed reviews. Many reviewers were obsessed over the cinematography and the set design, calling each shot a work of pop art. But others weren't convinced by it, calling the film desperate and needing seasoning. I know that some people walked out of this film because they thought that it was gross. So I guess it just depends on your sensibility and how much you buy into the fantasy.
Is it grosser than anything that Lars von Trier has done?
I just know there's a scene where somebody jacks off into a bathtub and then another guy comes in and slurps the bathtub water.
Okay, Lars von Trier is grosser. He did Antichrist, might be one that you know, and he has also got a movie called Nymphomaniac. Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, what were they expecting? Is this an up and coming person, or is it a debut?
So this is Emerald Fennell's second film.
Mhm,
And I think from the trailer, it was very vague. Like from the trailer, I was just like, oh, this is gonna be a beautiful film, and I don't really know what to expect.
mhm.
So I think maybe people were kind of taken aback, but I think that's kind of what she was trying to do.
A Hunger Games prequel was a smash at the box office and a hit with many fans of the series. Plenty of critics and fans alike, however, felt that this film completely fell apart in the third act and wished it had ended sooner. Is Jennifer Lawrence still attached?
No, so it's a prequel. The Hunger Games that she was in was the 74th, and this is set in the 10th Hunger Games.
What's the running time?
So the movie was 2.5 hours.
Oh my lord.
By the time the third act started, I really felt like we can start wrapping this up. And it just kind of became a completely different movie.
Was not into it at all.
I know that it's based on the written prequel, but I'm disappointed we don't get more origin story of how did we end up here? Because that's probably something that people would be really, really keen to see.
I think people are more interested in how did the districts come about than, how we got the villain that we got.
Yeah.
So, Priscilla comes from Priscilla Presley's memoir about her relationship with Elvis. Critics loved the actor's performances and were captivated by the mood that the film created. The negative reviews that I saw wanted to see more of Priscilla in the aftermath of her relationship as she got to form her adult identity.
Because I didn't realize she'd written a memoir. I was like, is this the sequel to Priscilla, Queen of the Desert? But it was not.
And I think it's interesting because that's a relationship that has been very romanticized.
Yes. I cannot imagine being like a 14, 15-year-old girl and you're at school and you're getting a phone call. For me, at in my 14, 15, Brad Pitt rings me up. Hey babe, do you want to go on a date? Yes is the answer. Like, of course, but it shouldn't be.
All right, so last movie on the list, we have The Marvels. It was one of the more watchable recent Marvel films, with fans loving the chemistry between the three leads, but it was not enough to re-solidify Marvel as a studio that can make great movies. I also think the Disney boycott could have something to do with the fact that the Marvels did not do better. More people probably didn't see it in box office and things like that, which good.
November also saw the release of a Napoleon film from Sir Ridley Scott, a wholesome holiday film called The Holdovers, a new animated Disney movie with terrible reviews, and a Thanksgiving slasher film that roasts someone in an oven like a turkey.
Ooh.
Big month for movies, lots of exciting stuff, and I'm sure that we're going to be seeing some of the names that came up here at Les Oscars.
And December's going to be huge. Boxing Day is always a big release day as well. Doctor Who.
Wait, do you
Sorry.
want to say that we're going to talk about TV?
Yeah, that's why I stopped. That's why I stopped. So, what's been happening in TV shows in November? First of all, we've got Doctor Who with a 60th anniversary special. Do not try to binge Doctor Who, you will die.
It's like One Piece.
The anniversary special included the 14th Doctor, fan favourite David Tennant, and introduced the new Doctor that will be taking the baton.
And I think every time there's a new doctor introduced, there's always like, oh, but he should be this, he should be that. But I think for the most part, this kind of helped solidify him a little bit more. And I think people are more excited.
It's a bit of cheating because everybody loves David Tennant so much.
So I actually watched the first episode of the show. The Curse has been described as a series that's guaranteed to be loved and loathed in equal measure. Even reviewers of the show who didn't enjoy it admit that the show accomplishes its purpose of defying genre and making audiences squirm. So this is one of those, it's like a cringe comedy. If you've ever watched The Office, this is like 10-hour long episodes of Scott's Tots. It's a hard watch, but it's definitely interesting. I love the cinematography. I don't think everybody is going to even be able to watch it because it's just like so like, oh, I can't look.
Yeah. Oof.
So, part one of the last season of The Crown has the most mixed reviews of the series' history, specifically about the ghost of Princess Di. The Guardian says it was so bad it's an out of body experience.
I'm sorry, that's the funniest headline I've ever read in my life. Like, damn, get her.
I do not understand. How did this happen?
See, I was gonna ask you because neither of us were really around for the Diana heyday. So, as much as we honor and respect her, we don't have that personal connection that people who were around have. So, like, how do you, as somebody who saw all of this unfold, feel now seeing that there's like a literal ghost of Diana on the TV?
I just think it's bizarre. Like The Crown is meant to be a serious drama, and lol, here's a ghost. Like what I don't know. It just seems like they jumped the shark. They jumped the shark. Do you guys know where that term comes from?
Nope.
Oh, I'm about to teach. So, Happy Days? The TV show Happy Days? Are you fucking kidding me?
That's how I felt when you said you didn't know
Tish,
SpongeBob.
we don't know anything, okay?
It's like an american cult classic.
Oh.
It's 50s teenagers, and it's got the Fonz, and he's like a cool dude,
Have
and
fun.
he says, "Hey!" And he's meant to be a teenager, but he looks like 40. The guy, he's now a director, Ron Howard. Do you know Ron Howard? No? He does he did a heap of movies with Tom Hanks. But so he was Richie Cunningham. It was like this long running sitcom, right? And they were 50s teenagers that were set in a diner, blah 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 blah. One of the seasons, the Fonz was the cool dude. He had a black jacket, he rode a motorcycle, blah blah blah. Have you ever heard anyone refer to Tuscadero? Pinky Tuscadero?
Am I on acid?
Am
What's
I on
happening?
acid or do I not know anything right now?
This is correct. I feel like I'm speaking a different language because you're like going, what the fuck are you talking about? Late into the series, right? The Fonz had to ride a motorcycle off of a ramp over a shark to win the heart of Pinky Tuscadero. And that was just a wild, wild thing. So the saying goes, if a TV series does something that's so crazy, it's called jumping the shark because they did something that was out of character, that was like, for views or whatever, that they lost their credibility. So yeah, there's a bit of TV lore. So that has come up, and that's what it seems like to me. Like they jumped the shark. They've done this like crazy thing that just doesn't fit with their whole vibe. Let alone, like the desecration of, look, whatever the afterlife is, don't script the afterlife of a real person. That's not okay.
Yeah. The scenes that she's shown in, she talks to the husband. I think it was his name Charles. Was it Charles?
Ex-husband.
Sorry. So she talks to the ex-husband Charles, and then she talks to the queen. And it's like we have no idea what she would say.
Also, if she was gonna talk to anyone as a ghost, it would probably be her kids.
Yes, she does. She would not be. They weren't talking. They weren't like Charles wasn't part of her life anymore.
Yeah, she fully had another man. Like she would have been talking to her kids if anyone. So if you wanted to do like a heartfelt scene of like the kids talking to their mom, but like it could have been like a toss up on if it was actually a ghost or if it was just childlike imagination.
Yeah,
That would have made more sense to me than what they're trying to do now, which is this a vision or is this a ghost? And
Like,
it's like,
what would she want to say to you?
nothing.
Nothing.
you're an asshole for cheating on me with Camilla Parker Bowles for so many years. Just this ghost like giving double fingers.
So, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is an anime series that reimagines the original plot of Scott Pilgrim and its characters and boasts the return of the whole original voice cast. The series is self reflective and refreshing, bringing a new perspective to a beloved story. Now, I heard it didn't just feel like a remake for the sake of a remake, they actually brought new things into the world while still making you feel the nostalgia of the old Scott Pilgrim. I mean, that was the perfect thing to put into anime.
That's what I
It lends itself so perfectly to anime.
I've read the comic book. I can see how the anime series would be like a good natural progression. But I loved the movie, and I know that it wasn't universally loved, but I really loved it, except for the relationship with the younger person was a bit weird.
And that's actually something that they touch on in this.
Oh,
There's a lot of things that they touch on maybe in that first iteration that didn't necessarily hold up as well, and they're looking back at it with a fresh perspective. I haven't even seen any negative reviews for this at all. People are just excited about it. One of the visual motifs that they use in the show to show that time is passing is they show Ramona dyeing her hair.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
The 2-hour season finale of The Golden Bachelor came out at the very end of the month. Longtime viewers appreciated the sincerity and authenticity that had been brought by the non-influencer cast of 60, 70, and 80-year-olds. Non-fans, though, felt that it was too similar from the original show to stand out. People, for the most part, were loving Gary, were really happy with Gary, and then at the end, he lost us! He lost us! He completely lost us!
All my homies hate Gary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What happened?
He double crossed my gal, my good Judy.
Leslie.
Leslie. I
Leslie
forgot
had
her
a
name.
Prince song written about her, and you're gonna do that to her?
Our man Gare Bear. He was telling Leslie up until Fantasy Suites, "You're my girl." And apparently he said a lot of stuff during the Fantasy Suite that she doesn't even want to repeat because it was so personal.
Ooh.
And stuff that really made her feel like she was gonna be the one that was chosen. And then she wasn't. His excuse was, well, I felt those things in the moment, and then I realized that I needed to make a different decision.
Fuck you.
This just proves to me that cis straight men will be cis straight men.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how old they are.
As your elder, I can confirm that. Okay.
Because how's Teresa supposed to feel now? That's the girl that he chose. Like, she's seeing all of this footage.
That doesn't even include, there was an article that came out about Mr. Gary that said that he lied about the fact that he hadn't dated anybody since his wife. He was dating somebody, and he apparently was actually very controlling.
Oh.
Okay, Gare Bear.
Yeah, maybe vet your contestants, ABC.
Mm.
Or do they vet their contestants knowing that they have drama?
And it's just so disappointing because I know how much hope you guys had in the series back in our first episode. But I have to take back some Dragula thing because I said the character whom I love is called Orgotic. I love him so much. I'm like, he must be protected just like Gary the Bachelor. So I have to take it back. Orgotic does need to be protected, and I love him. We don't like the Bachelor. Speaking of Dragula, I have very much disagreed with a lot of the judging. Not loving the judging.
Okay, on to our music section. So first we're going to talk about somebody who's made a big splash in the past year, Pink Pantherist. She released her new album, Heaven Knows, to a good reception, especially on TikTok. Critics feel that she hasn't quite reached her full potential, but they do feel that she's maturing and honing in on what she wants her music to sound like.
Like, I had a look at the Grammys chat on TikTok, and they said that it was a big snub that Pink Pantheress was not on there, along with a couple of other people. But that was what the big buzz that she got snubbed.
They definitely thought that she should have at least been in New Artist of the Year
Yeah.
or in the duo category because that Boy's a Liar song with Ice Spice was huge and it wasn't even on the list for nominations, which I think is ridiculous. So
I'm gonna take you all to church. Miss Sabrina Carpenter. She filmed a video for her song Feather. Now, the plot of this is she gets catcalled by a bunch of men in the video, and then they all slowly start dying.
Woo!
And then she ends the video in a church with all of their coffins
Woo!
in this cute little puffy dress, strutting her stuff. Now, issue with this, the Catholic official that okayed her to film the music video in the church got fired because after the Catholic Church saw the video, they're like, oh, hell no, what's going on? And Sabrina Carpenter's response to all this? Jesus was a carpenter. And honestly, I think he ate that.
I think that's hilarious. And I think it's also hilarious that we've seen Catholic priests getting outed for doing much worse things than allowing a music video in a church.
Let's spread around all of that abuse.
The Grammy nominations came out. People are happy that SZA got 9 nominations and that women really dominated the nominations this year, but there's a few notable snubs, like we said, Pink Panther.
Pink Panther. Ba-dum,
Mhm.
ba-dum,
He got
bum,
snubbed!
bum.
Yeah, again,
Yet again. Yet again.
justice for Pink Panther.
And then people were also really upset 21st Century Blues did not get any recognition.
Oh, and Renee Rapp.
Yes, her too.
I watched so many Renee Rapp TikToks. Once I started, I just couldn't stop. I was just like, oh my god, she's amazing.
Listing your occupation as influencer may be something new, but it's always been a major component in the cult of celebrity. Followers have access to their favourites, seeking out their point of view on whatever is happening, so they can formulate an adjacent belief or action. And these loyal fans are being let down, and they're not happy about it either, loudly demanding an explanation. Could this be the nail in the coffin for celebrity worship?
The rest of our discussion will feature non-graphic mentions of topics that may be potentially triggering, such as genocide, death, sexual assault, grooming, and burns. Please take care of yourself if you choose to listen further.
Usually, we have the predator list before our main discussion, but we had so many predators to add on to this month's list that we decided that it's going to be a part of our main discussion. So hold on to your hats, and if you don't want to hear about some abusive people, it might be time to click off the podcast. Thank you for hanging out with us so far.
It's disappointing, but it is what it is. Predators be predating. Predating?
Predating.
Yeah, they.
Especially with their support networks not budging at all.
No. The predator protectors out there, of which there are many. We have had Danny Elfman and Russell Brand. We've added Steven Tyler.
We've talked about James Charles and Colleen Ballinger, which is one person that I feel like is important to reiterate because she is trying to make a comeback.
And James Charles just released a palette this month that people are still buying. It sold out within the first few days, if not the first day.
James Charles did an article with somebody from Cosmopolitan and basically said, can I be uncancelled? Bitch, you got a line. You have a makeup line. You have, like, I think he still gets millions of views on YouTube. Your palette sold out. Get the fuck off of your victim box when you are the person who's admitted to being a predator. You are not cancelled, okay? Everybody just knows you're a predator. When in the video that he took down, I think is it the taking accountability video, where he admitted to being a predator and having victims, he admitted that, people. He admitted in this Cosmopolitan interview that he's still doing the same things. He said, "Oh, I shouldn't be using social media for dating." No, you shouldn't. Use a dating app. But he's not. He's still using Instagram. He's still using TikTok. This is a quote from the article. He's more cautious now, although not so much that he's given up on the DM sliding completely. Instead, he started requiring potential romantic interests to provide IDs before he'll engage. I'm a club bouncer at this point, he says, which even still hasn't stopped the occasional breach of trust. So he's still sliding into people's DMs based on what they look like and saying, hey, babe, you're hot. Can I see your ID?
I think he's forgetting the fact that it's not only inappropriate to talk to minors, it is inappropriate to try to have relationships with fans.
The best news is a lot of young people do know this. Even in bumfuck nowhere, Australia, most teenagers know he's a creep.
Same with Colleen Ballinger, the like to dislike ratio on her comeback video, which was fall vlog that had like a 3-minute quote unquote apology, which was barely an apology. The like to dislike ratio was huge.
Yeah, and then here she goes, Miss Colleen Ballinger, with her fuck ass bob, trying to convince us like she did nothing wrong with her cute little fall vlogs. Like, honey, we see right through it. Colleen, you just need to get off the internet and say sorry to your victims. That's what you need to do.
The other thing that she could do, but she hasn't done, is call her fandom off of her victims. Now, she doesn't have to admit to anything to do that. She could just say, anyone, can please don't send anyone any hate on my behalf. I don't want you to do that. But she doesn't do that because she doesn't give a fuck.
And then there were some allegations that came out and some lawsuits that came out because the statute of limitations was going to end in New York City because of a law at the very end of November. There are some cases that came out that people believe may have been attached to that. I think Steven Tyler was one of those. Jamie Foxx was one.
Well,
And then the big one was Diddy. Diddy, I have never seen a case settle so quickly as the case did between Diddy and the woman that accused him. People are thinking that there might be more allegations coming out from Diddy.
remember I was telling you about the groupie who used to sleep with all the 70s rock stars like Steven Tyler and those ones?
Yeah.
She was 14. She lost her virginity to David Bowie. She went on to sleep with like a whole bunch of them. It was just okay. And it's so bizarre now to look at it. Guess who would have been called out in that situation at the time? Her.
Yep.
She would have been seen as like the band slut. So many of our artists are problematic and it's just disappointing. It's so difficult because I think that a lot of people, even I find myself doing it was a different time in the 70s when this was going on. And I don't think that we knew more publicly that, yes, a 14-year-old girl can say yes or no and consent like that. They can't consent to the outcome, the consequences, and that's the problem. And that's what people who groom do. Like so many people write it off and say, oh, it was a different time. It was, but doesn't mean that it was right.
How much do you think that these very public allegations will impact the victim blaming culture that we have? Do you think that it'll make a dent, or do we think that it'll start to perpetuate some of the same things that we've always seen?
I just feel like the same shit's just gonna keep happening. Everyone's just gonna be like, oh, you're just crying wolf. Oh, you're just trying to get attention. It's not gonna stop unless some major, major things change. Sadly, I don't think that this is what it will take for that to happen.
A lot of this has to do with the legal system and who's in power and what kind of justice we're able to get. So that's something that I want to talk to you both about a little bit. How much do we think needs to change in the legal system for real justice to be served? And do we even think that that is going to be the main thing that drives change or not?
A lot of people don't come out and talk, and that's without even thinking about a legal case because of what Gus was saying, where they get treated like shit, just even for having an allegation. Look at how Adam McIntyre, who was groomed and abused by Colleen Ballinger, he told everybody 2 or 3 years ago, this is who she is, this is what she does, and no one believed him and everybody gave him shit, and that wasn't even looking into being legal. So it was just sort of like an allegation at that point. And until I think we see a culture shift, I think that we're not going to see big changes. Let's move on to influencers influencing, but not wanting to influence all of the time.
So I think that there's kind of two categories that fall into people's responses to what's happening in Israel and in Palestine. There is the I am going to say what I believe, no matter how reactionary it is. We've seen some people, have a lot of backlash because of that, but not necessarily lose their careers. And then we've had some people who really want to stay silent And it is really starting to bother people that they are staying so silent. And so I think those are kind of the two. Do you want to start with Brittany Broski?
Oh God! So Brittany Broski, you may know her as Kombucha Girl. So she posted a video on her close friend's story saying, "Oh, how dystopian and weird it is that she, an influencer, should post her opinion on what's happening in Palestine." When 2 months earlier, she was talking in a like YouTube video or like a podcast or something like that. She was saying how important it is to use your platform to talk about the things that are important to you. Also, genocide just isn't important to you, Brittany. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mhm.
I
It's just not important to you, and it's so dystopian that you even have to talk about it. You know what's more dystopian? People fucking dying.
think that's one of the problems is some of these influencers have put themselves in positions where they do speak out on issues outside of what their main influencing job is. Like if they're a makeup influencer, a lot of them will speak on queer phobia and on transphobia and stuff like that. And so it is very weird to see them really not wanting to budge on something so important. Taylor Swift and Beyonce are others examples. Both of them are showing their films in Israel. And there is some conversation about, well, they are in contract with AMC. They might not be able to pull the films, but they haven't even said anything. They are being completely silent. And people are really upset because both of those women, on different occasions in their own ways, have spoken out for issues that matter to them. And so I think their fans are looking to them, especially because, like, they've done that before.
I saw a really good TikTok yesterday. I'll have to get the creator and credit them in the notes. But there's footage going around of Beyonce's movie being played in a theater, and there's these people with an Israeli flag, like doing it. And the song that they're singing while they're doing it is "You Won't Break My Soul, You Won't Break My Soul." So that song is a theme for genocide now. That's what it's doing. So it's not just showing a fucking movie in a cinema. Those Israeli people are shaking that flag and going, those Palestinians, they're not going to break our souls. We're going to kill them. If she was under contract, she could say that. I know that she has used the Black Panthers in her own like imagery and aesthetic. And who did the Black Panthers support? Fucking Palestine. You pick and choose your aesthetic, that you need to be responsible for what you're doing directly. And I think it's really piss poor.
And a lot of people are upset that there is that expectation, but at the end of the day,
They said it for themselves.
they said it for themselves. They said, I'm going to use my platform to help with certain issues. I am going to invoke issues of liberation. And if you're only going to use it for an aesthetic, then people are going to be able to figure it out at some point. Somebody who really tried to stay silent and F that up was Selena Gomez, who is one of the, if not the most followed person on Instagram. She basically said, I'm not going to say anything. My post doesn't matter. Bye.
Your post doesn't matter either.
I remember her specifically saying, posting about it does not do anything. Who cares? Stop asking me. I'm leaving. Leave me alone.
But Selena Gomez posting pro Palestine would actually do a lot and could actually help educate a lot of people. So she might have been talking about, like, oh, your post doesn't matter, like for her fans. Yours does. And honestly, that argument in and of itself is really shitty. Because, like, if one person sees it and learns something about the movement, then that post was successful. You could have gotten one person to click on a link, sign a petition, or read an article. That's enough. Even just education is important at this point.
Yeah. Even that person with 50 followers in a private account,
Even they!
that person reposting it is still going to put that post more into the algorithm and help more people see it. At the end of the day, all of that does make a difference.
If you're not posting yourself, boosting other people's posts.
Yeah, nobody's saying that you have to become a war correspondent, but just trying to share some of the stories that are coming out of there and just showing like there are actual human people, not just a bunch of terrorists living in the Gaza Strip. They have families, they have lives, they really care.
There's actually a bunch of really good accounts that you can boost and follow. They are doing the hard work, so you don't even have to do that much work. It's very easy, and even us with our small platforms, we're doing it as well.
Oh, okay. So Amy Schumer was just posting some really just racist, anti-Arab, Islamophobic rhetoric and stuff. And yeah, she's been getting backlash, but has she been like quote unquote blacklisted from the industry? No. Noah Schnapp is also a person who's been posting some really harmful tropes and some really harmful things. And apparently, Netflix is keeping an eye on him. Laughable, especially because Melissa Barrera, who was one of the leads of Scream 7, she got kicked off for posting that she thought that it was ridiculous that there was so much censorship regarding Palestine.
Mhm. Didn't Noah Schnapp have, like, Israelis are hot or something?
Zionism is sexy.
Ew!
I'm trying to find the Amy Schumer post. It was something like, when you needed someone to say Black Lives Matter, we were there. When you needed someone to stand up with the gay people, we were there. But when the Jewish people need us, you're silent.
Fuck off.
It was some shit like that.
This is like a graphic that she posted, and it's trying to portray people at a protest, and it has a bunch of I can't even read some of these. Stab Jews for Allah. Beheading is resistance. Free Gaza, kill a Zionist. Murdering Jews isn't anti-Semitic.
Literal propaganda.
My travels overseas have been motivated by my World War II interest in history. I've been to a concentration camp. I've been to the Holocaust Museum in Berlin. Like, I am very, very conscious of the Jewish plight and even considered converting to Judaism. Doesn't mean that I can't see that this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are not the same thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't make me think differently of Jewish people because
No.
this
No.
is not their fault.
I'm not looking down on my Jewish friends because Israel is doing something shitty. Like, that's not fair either.
But that's what Amy Schumer's trying to get you to think. If you don't support everything to do with it, you're anti-Semitic.
So I think all of this raises a lot of questions about celebrity and influencer responsibility. I know we did touch on this a little bit. Like some of these people did put themselves in that position, so it makes sense that we're expecting that. But I'm just wondering, like, what do you two think about that? Should we even be looking to these celebrities to say something?
Yes.
I think so. If they're going to be such big faces and such big household names, then you better have an opinion on this.
It's in the title, influence.
Yeah.
It's the name of the job, people. When you take it on, it's a job you choose to do. If you go viral, you can make it run, or you can be like the Island Boys. You can definitely opt out if you do not want to do it. And if you don't want to have an influence, then get the fuck out of it. You might not want to be a voice, but people look to you regardless. And you have to be able to deal with that side of it as well. It just comes with the territory.
I think some of the criticism of this conversation is, well, they're celebrities. They're not political scientists. We are not expecting Beyonce to come out with a TED talk. Just some kind of show of solidarity and support and using your platform to help other people, especially when you've done it before. I don't think it's a wild dystopian expectation like Brittany Broski thinks.
So now we are going to be talking about the deadly Taylor Swift concert that happened in Brazil. It was definitely far from the magical experience that we saw for the United States concert goers. Days before the event, a fan, Gabriel Santos, who traveled to Rio, was fatally stabbed. On the day of the event, fans reported lining up for hours to try to get the best spot possible, some going as far as to wear diapers in preparation.
Yikes.
They waited in extreme heat and humidity, which got to feeling like it was up to 138 degrees Fahrenheit. Several fans who were rushing inside the venue fell onto the metallic floor and had their skin burned. Fans were not allowed to bring water bottles into the venue, and access to water in the stadium was difficult depending on location. Taylor Swift's team apparently did their best to give water to everybody. Taylor herself even threw water at people, but they eventually ran out. It's also being reported that the venue intentionally shut down the air vents and several emergency exits to block people from seeing the show from outside.
A combination of all these factors led to hundreds of people fainting, many being hospitalized, and a fatality, Ana Clara Benavides, due to cardiac arrest. Several concert goers were mugged, pickpocketed, or caught up in police raids upon exiting the stadium. There's also reports of different concert goers being administered Rivotril and clonazepam, both of which are controlled substances and should not be given out so easily. They believe concert goers were just experiencing fanaticism and needed to calm down.
Which is the go-to when it comes to teenage girls. Ridiculous. The Brazilian government is now undergoing an investigation against the company that managed this piss poor Taylor Swift concert. Here's one thing that I'm thinking about. The fault of this event mostly goes to that management company because they should not have shut down the vents and the emergency exits. They should have let people bring in a water bottle or supplied enough water for everybody and made it easily accessible. There's so many things that they intentionally did that messed people up. However, Taylor Swift's name is going to be attached to this forever. So, my question to both of you is what responsibility does Taylor Swift have for this event?
I suppose just having whoever's liaising with the management company who is doing it, they could say, "This is what we require. If you can't provide this, then we'll go elsewhere," and probably having a tighter rein on that.
It just like Tish said, like having a tighter rein on where you're having your concerts, like from now on, I feel like there's not much you can do about what actually happened. I think she needs to like pay the family or like something like that. And then also do a lot of work in the years to come to make sure that she has a safe environment for her fans because she knows that they'll stay in a concert venue that feels like it's 138 degrees just to see her.
Mhm.
So knowing that, make it safe for them so that if something happens, they can either get out, they can get their water, whatever the case may be. Make it safe because you know these people will be in extreme situations for you.
And safe for everybody in the future, even at concerts that aren't hers, because they'll get compared to it. It could be the type of event that makes big changes for, concert goers.
Mm.
Taylor Swift has had a big impact on the music industry based on like owning her own recording. She had big issues with Scooter Braun and her really fighting back against that and owning the music herself. It's made an impact. So that maybe she could have an impact on the concert going experience in general. We were just talking about this. Astroworld was not that long ago. There were several fatalities at a Travis Scott concert. Maybe he could have set the precedent. I did something wrong and I messed up and I didn't manage this properly and I'm going to take precautions to do better in the future. And maybe Taylor Swift can be the person that does that. One of the questions I have, which I wasn't really thinking about before this, should Taylor Swift, who is one of the richest people on the planet, should she be having these expensive concerts in Brazil, which is a very poor country with lots of economic inequality and instability? There's the argument that fans in these countries deserve to see their favorite just as much as anybody else, but there's also the argument that these tickets are going to be ridiculously expensive.
I say if you're gonna do concerts like this, especially if you're Taylor motherfucking Swift, you can make those concert tickets cheaper so that the people in the area that you're going to can afford them. Like level it to like where the price is versus the dollar in the market to where you're going. Now, I don't know if every artist can do this because like a bitch has got to make money. I get it, but not Taylor Swift. She's a billionaire. She can totally make those tickets cheaper so that all of her Brasileiro fans can see her and not break the bank.
She could do a free concert.
If anyone has the money to do free concerts, it's Taylor Swift.
Has she come out and said anything about it?
She did. She said that she was heartbroken and that she was going to be canceling the show because it was unsafe and that she was just really upset. and it's just really heartbreaking. And so it begs the question, should we even be doing this?
Mm,
But then are those fans going to, do everything they can to go to the US because those are the only places that Taylor Swift, I don't know the answer, but it's a question.
at least nobody was dancing on the top of an ambulance going through the audience.
That's true. That did not happen. Well, I think that's it. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Gus and Tish. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see ya in Last Christmas. I gave you my heart, and the very next day.
Tish! I didn't want to hear that song! I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I was trying to do a challenge for all of December where I didn't hear it, so I failed. Anyway, we will see you for our end of the year episode. Isn't that ridiculous? Have a good one, and thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Enjoy December.
Thank you so much for listening to the XYZ podcast. We'd appreciate it if you left us a rating and a review. We'll see you in the next episode for more laughs and chats about the month's moments.